Okay, so I will talk for the next 20 minutes about lessons from the first green shopping mall in Malaysia, for which we were the green building consultants. And you will see the subtitle is Green Sense. So actually going green also makes financial sense, and that's often the drive for many of the measures that are undertaken. So first of all, this shopping mall is actually quite proud of being green. This is some screen dumps from their website, where they state that they believe in green. And they also list out the 35 green features that are actually undertaken in this shopping mall. And the mall came into operation in 2012, and then based on actual measured performance data, the mall got its green certification. Both under the Malaysian one, which is called GBI, and then the Singaporean one is still pending a few measurements. So one of the highlights of this mall is that it actually saves 30% of the energy compared to normal shopping malls in Malaysia, and that translates into savings of $2 million per year in lower energy bills. And we spent about $6 million extra on going green, so that means the payback time is 3 years. So this is of course a great benefit to the mall owner. And the sort of benchmark figure of an energy index of 450 is established through energy audits of existing malls in Malaysia. So how to go green? The way we approach this project, like we do for all other projects, is that we work with the design team to propose various measures to go green for the particular project. So in this case, we actually came up with what we call a green shopping list of 42 items that we agreed with the consultants team that we should investigate. And then for each of those items, we can actually, through detailed computer simulations, see how it affects the energy consumption of the mall and how it affects the indoor climate. And then we also can see how much money we will save. So if we implement all the 42 items, then you can see on this graph, this is energy consumption, and then it starts going down all the way down to here. So if we implemented all 42 elements, then we would save 68% of the energy compared to a normal mall. It would cost, let's see here, additional cost. So if you divide by 3, you have it in US dollars. So about $10 million. But you would then save about $3 million. So the payback time would actually be 3 years. And then it shows the score as well under Green Mark in this case, the Green Mark rating scheme. So for each of these measures, we can actually calculate the payback time. And so it's a very sort of a quantitative way to approach it. And the design team and the client can sort of pick from that list and decide how much they want to do. So for each of these 42 items, we made a sort of breakdown analysis like this. So for example, item number 6 is the green roof. So we will say how much extra cost would that be, or would that incur? What's the payback time? So in this case, very high payback time, because the same amount of insulation you can get from using normal insulation. But and then we put in our own recommendations. So we personally recommend that they should go for this because it's quite sort of green feature, and then a sustainability image. So visitors to the mall, how big is the green impact of this particular measure? So because the roof would not be visible from everywhere, we put 2 out of 5. But unfortunately this was not implemented. But another measure, increasing the efficiency of the air handling units. Has a good payback time, and again, we highly recommended this, but the sustainable image was not so high because no one sees what's inside the mechanical system. But in this case, it was implemented because it saves good energy, and so on. So here we have one more, the last item I'll show you. Again, here we had a payback time of 1 year, and going for water efficient fittings was implemented. So let me show you the end result. The mall was built, and we have some performance data. So the mall has a gross floor area of about 100,000 square meters, and it opened in the middle of 2012. And this is the tenancy mix. So most of it is retail, normal shops, and then we have 17%, which is food and restaurants and so on. So the measured energy consumption breakdown looks like this. So almost half of the energy is spent by the tenants, and about 30% is spent by the chiller plant. And then we have for the air handling units and other things. So the tenants and the chillers is really where all the energy is going. And then we did some energy efficiency tracking as part of the energy management system. And you'll notice that the efficiency of the chiller improved by reducing the kilowatts per refrigerant ton. And that was simply because we realized through all these works the chiller had gotten dirty. So by cleaning the chiller tubes, that helped greatly. And in our projects now, often we'll install this kind of automatic chiller tube cleaning system. So you make sure that it stays clean. Also, as part of the energy management, we looked at the cooling load. So this is a 24-hour period. So at you can see sort of this is midnight, so it drops down at about 3 o'clock. Everyone has gone home. There's some cinemas running, for example, and then it starts up in the morning again about 9 o'clock. And this is then the peak refrigerant tonnage. So the peak cooling rate was about 41 BTU hours per square foot. And actually this was only about 50% of the design load. So in other words, as often happens, unfortunately, the cooling system was over-dimensioned. And we sort of had a premonition this would be the case, but we were not too familiar with shopping mall projects because this was our first one. So we just let the mechanical engineers put in the system they recommended. But sure, end of the day, as expected, I would say, we end up with a cooling system that is much too big. So not only are we spending too much money to install this system, but it's also not running efficiently enough because the load, it was designed for a different load. And this is actually one of the reasons why we haven't gotten the Green Mark rating yet, because there's a mandatory requirement for the efficiency of the chiller plant. So this is one of the lessons, definitely. So if we look at the energy consumption breakdown, we can see that the highest contributor is the tenants. But this is also very difficult to control because these tenants rent the space and then they do their own thing. So this is really one of the keys to bring down the energy consumption in shopping malls. And we worked a lot with the tenants, and subsequently we also analyzed the individual energy consumption of these tenants. So this is quite an interesting breakdown, I think. So for the retailers, so you can say normal shops, the watts that they use per square meter, we had assumed it would be about 35 on average. In reality, it was a bit higher, at 41. But you can also see, if we look at the highest consumers, then some retailers are actually up at 123 watts per square meter. And the lowest ones are much lower, down to about 6. So there's a very big variety in that. If we look at the food and beverage, here we had assumed we could get them down to 50 watts per square meter, but in reality it was actually twice as high. And again, a big difference between the efficient ones and the inefficient ones. Actually, it's more than 10 times higher here than the lowest one. So this is where you really have to work with these tenants and understand what are they installing and how can we make it more efficient, especially when it comes to lighting. We also tried to plot, is there any correlation between the size of the shop, of the lot that is rented, and the power density, but there was no correlation. And the same is the case for the retail lots. The size of the shop didn't have any influence on the intensity of the power used. So here we basically plotted the average power intensity of the different tenants. So the highest one is the food and beverage, because there's a lot of heating of food and maybe washing of utensils and whatnot. And you still have the lights, of course. The other high one would be a supermarket. I suppose it's a lot of the cooling appliances in there. And then the retailers here, which is primarily the lights. So when you have a shopping mall, it's actually very important to look at the mix. If you have a lot of food outlets, the energy consumption is likely to be higher than shopping malls with less food. So if we have a quick look at the lighting, here we advised the clients to use efficient lights, but not everyone is willing to do that. And even though we explain you have a quick payback time, but sometimes they don't really bother. So can anyone see from this image which shop is the energy guzzler? You probably can't. But it's actually the shop on top consumes 100 watts per square meter, whereas the computer shop below installed LED lights and only consumes 27 watts per square meter. So to the person in the mall, there's no difference when walking past these shops, but one just consumes 4 times as much for lighting. So, and they will, of course, pay for it in the long run because their bills are much higher. One thing we implemented for this mall was a daylighting system. This is an in-house software we've developed to visualize and quantify how it can reflect daylight into the atrium. So this is a cross-section. We proposed this kind of deflector that would fairly evenly distribute the light into the different levels. But in the end, this was saved away, so we just went ahead with the original design, which mostly gives daylight to the top floors, which is also okay. But the daylight system is quite good for this mall. There's no direct roof light over, it's only side lighting, and that means it's not overpowering the daylight, and that means that the shop owners, they don't have to compete with the daylight, because to the shop owners, often they put in a lot of lights, so they are more bright than the neighboring shop, or definitely so bright so people can easily see them. So if you have a lot of daylight in the mall, then of course the shops have to put in even more light to be brighter than the atrium space. So this actually worked quite well, and we also did a survey with visitors to the mall, and actually a lot of them commented that they really liked the atrium space because it's not too bright and it's quite pleasantly lit in this daylit space. So for green shopping mall, the recommendations are to have an energy efficient chiller plant, to have install automatic chiller tube cleaning, and then make the air side energy efficient, so you can easily scale down the cooling and fresh air delivery when the occupancy is low in the mall. use of daylighting, but in moderation to save on electric lights. And definitely focus on energy efficient lighting and lighting designs, so the tenants become more efficient. And to achieve that, we worked with making these kind of green leases for the tenderers, so they simply had to commit to meet certain energy efficiency requirements. But it requires a bit of work. Then water efficiency and rainwater harvesting. And once you've done that, you can start saving your $2 million per year. So thank you very much.